Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dogman Sasquatch Oklahoma Encounters. I'll be your host, Lance Hightower, one of the Cryptid brothers. The other brothers and Wally Dave are still out of the pocket here, but I promise this will be a great episode. We're going to continue with part 2 of Donald's Dogman Encounters. I think you'll find quite interesting as the last episode 15 that we did. So we're going to continue with that. It's so good to be back here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, after taking a trip with the family up to Fargo, North Dakota, and Hewitt, Minnesota. Have some family there. And in traveling, it just amazes me. And when we're traveling on the highways going up north, how many miles of river systems, creek bottoms, and lakes and just open land there really is when you get out and you drive the highways and byways. Just how many places and opportunities these cryptids have to live, roam, hunt, and survive. It's just mind-boggling to me. So it's no wonder that just a few people, now when I say few, I mean literally thousands, but a selective few of thousands of folks out of the millions that do see these cryptids. There's plenty of places for these things to survive and thrive, definitely for sure. So anyway, I just kind of saw that and recognized just the miles and uninhabitable places that's really out there. So it's always good to be back, though, behind the mic here, taking calls and getting out to investigate. We've been on some investigations, and we'll be showing that footage soon. As we get going here with part 2 of Donald's episode, though, I want to recognize you, the subbers. We want to recognize Ryan Flannery, Santiago Lechuga, Mr. Bojangles 311, Kurt Tollison, Yeti Killer, Connie Aranciva, Bob Beebe, Jack Hamilton, Mr. 22, Brian 22, Dave Tyson, Karen Broderick, Matthew Morrison, Sooner Squatch, Jeff Stone, Richard Croft 1220, and Janice Parks. Thank you guys so much for sharing our show here in the United States, but also all over the world, and thank many of you for calling into our toll-free number that we have for reports or assistance. As we've said on the last couple of episodes, last night someone had an encounter somewhere, and I would even go so far as in every state, someone had an encounter last night. They're still pondering it right now. They're not sure what they saw. They may have been by themselves. It may have been a pair of people or a group. They may have been in a car, walking a trail, dumping the trash, camping. Who knows the circumstances? But someone saw something that, or had a very terrifying event last night that they're just not able to place. It doesn't fit anything they're aware of or that even existed. They are still baffled about it. They're frightened about it. They don't know what to do, who to call, who to tell, because there's a lot of emotions going on. Not only is there fear, but there's also possible ridicule. They're thinking all this through. It may have been a member, someone in community that holds a very important position. It may have been a law enforcement officer. It may have been a pastor of a church. It may have been a prominent member of the community, of the PTA, someone that's a physician, someone that's a teacher, someone that people look up to and respect, and they just cannot place what they saw. Many of these folks will never say a word. They might tell one person. After that, they'll never tell another soul. But some of these people will. So these shows, like ours and many others, are a good way for these people just to get it off their chest, to share that they're not alone. There's many people just like them that's had the same experiences. And in some cases, may have had a very similar encounter. So they feel that there is a community of people that understand, they know exactly what they're going through, and some of these people, if they hold it in for years and years, may have some post-traumatic stress from this. And there's been many cases of that as well, if you've listened to these shows long enough. So we want to at least advocate to give us a call. We have no judgment. We just listen to every story. Our number is 1-866-306-8085, or you can contact me by email at lhightower4811@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We don't need to know a name. We just want to know what happened and how it happened so we can share with you guys. So what we're going to do here is we're going to continue with Donald Part 2, prior to his law enforcement history and after. He presently is in the Tennessee area, has had many reports from individuals, the public, and some of his neighbors and colleagues he's worked with over the years that's had some very terrifying events that's happened to them. Pets are missing. People don't understand what's going on. There's weird sounds. He's actually had a dogman on top of his parents' roof. And so it's just one bizarre event, and they're continuing to this day. We keep in contact, and he really is terrified. He hasn't been out of the house in years at night, and for good reason. So we'd like to continue here with Part 2 of Donald and I discussing some of the events that's transpired, where he lives, and what's happened in the past with these dogman creatures.
And I saw, the 95 dogman versus the 2010 dogman. I live 5 miles from the 2010 dogman, and I live about roadway about 8 miles from the 95 dogman. Episode 85 on Dogman Encounters Radio happened on Pickwick Lake between the waterfall and the nuclear plant to Gold Island to Scruggs Recreation Area. That's where the whole thing went down. Okay, and that was the baboon looking, and that thing was almost 1,000 pounds. Wow. And these people had high military weaponry, and they couldn't bring it down. They shot it. They said they hit it, but that thing took off. And I know exactly where it went down because, see, this is my home area. That ain't his home area. It's mine.
Right.
And I've been, like I told you, I know the woods back there. I know where the Howling Rock is. It's where the famous waterfall is on Tishomingo, on Pickwick Lake at Tishomingo. Man, that is that's where everybody goes. I used to jump off the waterfall. But anyway, that's all in that area between. That's the J.P. Coleman Wildlife Management Area. If they ever, let me tell you what that area would cost. If somebody were to sell it to investors, almost $1 billion. Almost $1 billion. And there's a lot of land in there. There's a lot of coves. There's waterfalls in there. There's 2 waterfalls in Tishomingo County on Pickwick Lake. One of them is behind a beach that people don't know about. It's the same as the big waterfall that's famous. There's granite rocks in there. There's caves. There's all kind of stuff in there. And I'm going to tell you something. Bigfoot and Bear Creek, Indian Creek, all those creeks and coves through there, that ain't nothing but prime booger country. And now we got the dogmans in there, and apparently we got one of the big dogmans in there. So you gotta realize something. The 10-Tom Waterway opened in 74 to 85. That opened it up. The Natchez Trace Parkway was opened up. Shiloh National Military Parks, all federal government controlled. The state owns all these wildlife management areas. When I worked with the state parks in Mississippi, if you went missing, all we did was call the local county sheriff's department and gave the information. I didn't have time because I had to register campers and clean bathhouses and cabins, and I didn't have time for that. David Politis, he's a senior law enforcement officer. He didn't know how it is down here in backwards Tennessee and Mississippi. It's run, good old boy system runs down here. And I appreciate you having me on your show because I know you kind of went out on a limb. You kind of like areas close to Oklahoma, but West Tennessee down the Tennessee River corridor and Buck Snort and all those areas up around Big Sandy and up, there's a woman named Salina on episode 27, I think, and she is the one that's had some major dogman issues and stuff. And we're talking about dogmen coming through doggy doors and all that stuff, and I mean it's Parish Landing in Henry County up in that area. I some bad stuff up there.
Yeah, I mean that's our goal. What we would like to do eventually is be able to have time where we can travel to places like where you live and spend.
Well, we got Pickwick Inn. You can make a reservation, and drive I-40 and then take 72 out of Memphis, and then go to Carthage and come up, Highway 25, go to Iuka and hit 25 north, and it'll take you right to Pickwick State Park. I could show you around here, but my family doctor, Dr. Michael Smith in Savannah, Tennessee, we're both from Memphis originally, and he told me, when I told him about episode 71 on Big Condorcite, he told me about a woman that is a patient of his that has boogers north of Saltillo, Tennessee, which is a river town north of Savannah on the Tennessee River. And then the guy that I know, Eddie Jenkins, around Counts, and he lives in Jackson now, but he's in this area. He told me about boogers down in Chambers Creek Swamp. I said, well, that's the first I've ever heard of it. But anytime they smell that you're a government employee, they're going to clam up.
No, they do the same thing around here, Donald. I mean, it's no different here in Oklahoma. I mean, so it's, if you tell them, first of all, what helps is when you say, hey, I'm from this area, I was born and raised. If you have a friend that knows them or down the line, then, they open up a little bit more. And then they open up even more to say, hey, we've had encounters ourselves. We've had vocalizations. We've been very close to these things. And then they start realizing, well, maybe I can open up. And that's really what we try to do, and what everybody tries to do on the shows is for people to kind of open up. And we can share these episodes. Every time someone shares a story, it's helping not only the person release it a little bit, that they're not crazy. They saw something flesh and blood. It is real. But with every story that we have, we get a little smarter on how these things behave, their characteristics, their behaviors. So that's kind of what we're doing.
Well, I've never seen it on twos. All my Dogman encounters have always been on 4 legs. But they're enormous, they're fast, and I'm thankful. Now it's like I'm 6'4" and I'm 335, 310, but I got a 17.4-inch shoe, 17.4. I ain't no little person, So, but these things, only in the car. Now, he's above I have my window open, and I thought, well, the reason he can't get into my window if he's that big, because he's too big. And there's no way for him to access, he can't hold on to anything,
Right.
And I've got Wi-Fi in my room that may confuse him or something.
Right. That's possible. It's very, very possible. So if I can go back just a little bit, since you touched on it, when it was on all fours, how tall do you think it was at the wither, at the shoulder?
Well, like I said, I'm in the car sitting down, and I'm looking up at him. I'm 6'4". I'm looking up at this thing, not down. Yeah, I've never seen a small one. I'm guessing that the Dogman on Big Condas, that new Dogman, it was similar, but it was more like Great Dane looking. But it was no Great Dane, because that sucker was like 400 pounds. I mean, he'd been feeding somebody's chickens and stuff, but these Dogmen, I'm saying 400 something. Like I said, when I'm 335 or 310, and I'm 6'4", he's not much taller than that. You see,
right?
He may be wider in his shoulders than I am, but let me tell you something. You will never forget it. And I thought, when I saw my 91 thing, see, the way I taught myself, I had to talk that myself. That was a wild hyena. These idiots around here collect. Why they do it, I don't know. It's a strange thing to go on around here. And then when Lon Streichler said there's somebody else had a similar encounter, well, I went back to a Mississippi Bigfoot deal. I read an encounter on the Pearl River Basin, which would have been probably, from where I saw that, on Mississippi 35, it probably wasn't 50 miles. Wow. It probably wasn't 50 miles. So I just thought and back then, Mississippi, they just shot that thing quick. You slap an Alabama ticket, They're not going to put up with that down there back in those days. Now, fast forward to 2017, I don't know. You know, I'm not permit. I don't say I've got a handgun permit. I sold my 357 for a diamond cocktail ring from my wife. We later got divorced. She got the gold mine, I got the shaft type of deal. But anyway, I don't have a gun. But I did have a gun. But I got a gun permit, but I don't have a gun. And like you said, I wouldn't try these things.
Any caliber is not going to work with these things. You've got to have a specific load. You
need a Beretta 50 caliber, what you need.
And the other thing is, some of the loads that you need, you just can't run to Bass Pro or Cabela's and get.
No, episode 85, person told me that, well, he says it on his episode. You listen to it, you'll get it. Episode 85. Here's episode 76, 85, and episode 5 on Bigfoot with, he's on 3 shows with Vic. Anyway, he got his friends, and they went looking, and so I called him up on the phone. I said, if you don't mind me asking, where in Tishomingo did this thing, I thought it had down Tishomingo State Park, in the back of Bear Creek, because that's perfect crypto city country back there.
Right.
He said, no, this is up here and down the, he told me where it was. I said, you talking about the NASA plant? I said, you mean the Yellow Creek nuclear site? Well, see, what you don't understand, right outside is called Iron Bridge Road, and it's really a boat ramp now. But when when the Yellow Creek nuclear plant was going in, there's like 7 or 8 houses. Well, they got every one of them. They just left the houses to sit there and rot. Well, that's perfect Dogman hideout. Do you reckon?
Oh, yes. I mean, that's something that we've discussed a lot as well, is that, these things are opportunistic, not only in hunting and feeding, but they're opportunistic when it comes to shelters. We've often thought these abandoned farms, there's quite a few of them around Oklahoma, old homesteads.
Well, they're everywhere.
And they're everywhere. And you see, where they're at when there's a clump of trees out in the middle of a plowed field. There's probably a homestead there with some type of a silo and a barn that's collapsing. Well, if you're looking, they're like anything else. Even though they're outdoors all the time, if they want to get out of the wind, rain, they're like many ways like anything else. They want to get out of, have some shelter. Well, if you already have something established, why not harbor in that's already set up? So our feeling is that these old abandoned homesteads out in the woods, on farms that people never go in, we think that they're harbored quite a bit and visited quite a bit, not only in Oklahoma, but all across the country.
Are you having more people get killed in rural areas than you have in the urban areas?
It's hard to say sometimes, Donald, because the news sometimes is very sporadic. I mean, unfortunately, we here in Tulsa, we're not like Chicago lately. They're at a record time. But I will say this: we do have an increase, homicide rate in Tulsa. It is picking up or ticking up, if you will. People that I do try to pay attention to people that go missing, and it's really hard to gather because even the news at a local level is still monitored and edited, so you don't get the full story.
Well, this is the way you look for it. When there's a rash of people getting killed by domestic dogs, that's a cover up for Dogman. I'm serious, and I learned that on Big Condos. It was one of the episodes. There's an Oklahoma episode.
Yeah.
There's 2 episodes of Oklahoma, and that's what they said, that with the authorities come in and start killing all the pit bulls and the bad dogs and all that, and blaming them for it, and getting the heat off of them, and keeping it under control. In other words, they tweak it, keep it under black dog. Mm-hmm. You see? Mm-hmm. But that's Dogman's doing it, and that's what you got to learn is the code names for Dogman or Bigfoot. That's where your killings are going on. And look, the federal government gets funds to law enforcement, and they have for at least since I've been out of law enforcement. Since last time I was in a law enforcement officer was '83, and they've been giving federal funds. Well, guess what? They control your tail. And one of these days, what they're going to do is they're going to nationalize the police departments across America, bring them the Homeland Security Act, and guess what? You're going to have people from Russia and every other country being police officers, and the regular people, rank and file, are going to be gone. Then you're going to deal with a whole different system. So it's best to learn what to look for, and your show is vital. It's more vital than VIX, because we've got to get the truth out there. It's happening across the county, the states.
It really is.
I'm glad you took my story, because I thought, well, he won't call me because I'm outside of his state,
no.
Whatever. But they're all over.
They're all over,
everywhere.
And we never turn anyone down. You know, when we did this channel, we just started noticing there was a lot of folks coming on the shows that were from Oklahoma, and we'd always had a passion and desire to do this, to share some of our experiences. And we thought, let's just let's make it an Oklahoma-based show. But here's the irony, Donald. In doing this, we have more calls out of state than we do in state. By far. Kentucky, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Canada, Washington, Oregon, Texas, Kansas, Colorado. So, and that's what we want. We want to know these things. We want to know behaviors and the sighting, what happened, because we can all learn from it. Our eventual goal here is to travel, to help these folks, to see how best we can contain these things. I don't think they're an animal to be given gifts or to cage up and pet or make a pet. You look at an apex predator like this, the structure dictates the function. That's just how it is in nature. And the way this thing is built, it's built for killing. It has, and I don't think it would have a problem in harming us or killing us. I don't think it'd have a problem at all. It's a primary...
Let me ask you a question. Are hitchhikers getting scarcer and scarcer?
It seems like there is. I read an article, very good question. I read an article not too long ago in a tourism magazine. And it was about basically the nationwide tourism market, hiking, kayaking, boating, trailering, tenting, etc., etc., etc. The overall, what's very interesting is that camper and tenting has gone up, but hiking has gone down, which is very interesting overall. Now, not by much, but it has gone down, and I don't know if there was... Now, this article didn't talk about where specifically in parts of the country it has gone down, or let alone why. But I found it very interesting that tent camping in certain parks across the country has gone up. People purchasing RVs and trailer has gone up a little bit. But in general, compared to the way it was in the 70s and 80s, it's still below that. It's definitely gone down over time, and I don't know if there was some influences of the economy involved. These are, to have an RV takes a little extra cash in your pocket. And
it does.
And so, these are kind of extracurricular things that cost a lot more money, some expensive hobbies. So that could be an influence. But I tell you, I wonder if people that are actually out in these parks, if they don't see things and they pass it on through the grapevine, through friends and family, oh, don't go out there. Just no, don't go out in this part of this park, or don't go out here. It's just like David Paulides had some problems trying to ascertain some statistics at some of the national parks. They wouldn't give him the information. And they never really gave clear information back to him and fully disclosed the total number of people missing in an area.
I'm surprised David Paulides hadn't been taken out by some underground black operatives.
Well, you almost don't. It almost, in some respects, sounds silly to even think of that. It really does. But on the other end, it makes a lot of sense. And so I'm so thankful he's okay. But people.
Well, David is polite. David Paulides is connected with two wealthy men that could put some damage on some other people if something were to happen to him. Now that guy, I give him credit. See, we had a missing case over in Henderson, Tennessee. The boy went off missing, ran off, 2-year-old boy from his grandmother. They had a massive search. Same thing happened to him. I said, well, wait a minute. You got to understand territorial jurisdiction disputes. Because if it's a big story, one law enforcement is going to want to claim it all, the other one's going to claim it, and you got to fight. That happens all the time around here. People don't realize that. You know, you have a big case. Let's say I had a guy blew a 33 in Wayne County in Collinwood, Tennessee. Wayne County has a police officer there. I arrested him. He blew a 30.33. .08 is legal limit. I mean, you over that, you're in trouble. He went to court. It was a judge's fishing buddy. He was going to let him off. Deputy Henry Smith stepped in. Judge, he's drinking. You smell it on his breath. And they got him again. And I said, we need to talk to District Attorney General about this judge doing this. And that's why I got a law enforcement. Corruption in the state of Tennessee was this. I had 2 sheriffs I worked for went to federal prison.
Oh my God!
Thank God I didn't go, but
oh my word.
For violations.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
I mean, you just don't realize the depth of corruption. It was in Mississippi parks. It was in Tennessee law enforcement. It's just like, it's maddening. I graduated in Donaldson, Tennessee in 1981. Thank God the Tennessee Highway Patrol, some of the state troopers got me out the side and showed me how to do, search people and stuff like that. It literally saved my life. I'm telling you the truth. If they hadn't showed me some search and stuff on these cars and stuff, I stopped a guy doing 110 and ran me off the road. And I was in my marked police car, the big bubblegum blue lights and stuff. I chased him down. I got the sheriff's department to deputize me over the radio. I stopped 4 black guys doing 110 down in Hickory Valley, Mississippi at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they wanted to kill me. They didn't put a contract out on me because I stopped them right and left, and I searched that car just like a Tennessee Highway Patrolman told me to. I pulled 4 of them out of the car by myself. Wow. So I don't mess around when it comes to law enforcement. Some people take it as a joke. It's serious business to me.
Well, it has to be because it's your life.
That's right. And you know what? And you can get killed quicker in a domestic disturbance or a car pullover. There's where all the law enforcement people get killed. Yeah. And you got to be sharp. I mean, I was scared to death. I was as scared pulling those 4 guys over than I was seeing Dogman right in front of my face. I know what fear will do to you. I know what terrify means. I've lived. I know what terrify means. Nobody knows it like I do. So when these Dogman creatures started showing up and I was running in front of them, they were running in front of me, buddy, that reminded me of that terrify.
Isn't that interesting? Every time that you hear these stories and encounters that people have, it's the same words, the same adjectives over and over. Terrifying, frightened beyond belief, imposing. It's the same thing over and over. It's.
But yet people want to have an encounter.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't know. I don't want to be hypocritical because we're actually going out to have an encounter, if you will. But
well, now wait a minute.
But
you're different. You're different. I'm gonna say you're different than when you're doing it because this is research and things like that to help us be safer.
Yes,
that's different.
I hesitated.
I'm talking about. That guy in Savannah wanted to go. He just wanted to have a story to tell on the deal. I said, don't mess with this. Please don't. He was so mad. And I said, well, I prayed against it. I prayed to God that we wouldn't have an encounter. I took that man deep in. I said, he's from Hardin County. He lives like in the area around Nixon or Piper or someplace like that. And I said, you mean you lived here all your life? I took him down back roads around Pickwick Lake he knew nothing about. Then I took him over to Wayne County, around the Crossroads area. We went way down to Sherrill Hollow Loop. I'm talking about you in the back. He got scared. I said, I know where I'm going. Been here before and stuff. And you know, one thing I noticed when I was watching for details, I saw several deer carcasses with no meat left on them, just the head and just like everything was taken out on the side of the road. Two on the side of a dirt road. Now, I'm not sure if somebody killed it and skinned it, maybe they just threw it out there. I don't know, but it was kind of suspicious. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I mean, those are things that...
I would have been, let me tell you what, if I'd been law enforcement, I'd have wrote that up as an incident report. I'd have taken pictures and measurements and everything, see what's around there. I would have looked over that thing like a fine-tooth comb, like a murder investigation. I know how to do murder investigations, things like that. And had to cordon off the, yellow tape and all that stuff. But I would have taken pictures. I would have found somebody at a camera, taking pictures, and I would have made a report for me, and I would have made a report for my headquarters. And they would not know that I had my own report. So in case something happened, I got the report.
Right.
You see?
Right.
I got there. See, I want to get this across to you. It's very vital that you understand this. Make 2 copies of the report, identical, but don't tell the other one you got a copy hidden in your own file. Never let that out. So when it hits the fan, you got evidence, and here it is.
Right.
I always make duplicate copies of everything, and get the DNA I would send it off to. I would send one DNA to this lab and one DNA over here. So one of them you get back.
Right.
And
well,
I talked to Dr. Melba Ketchum on the phone and had conversations with her. So I've been around. I talked to J.C. Johnson, Melba Ketchum, and I'm a supporter. I talked to him, David Pilates and stuff, and I haven't talked to him on the phone, but I'm a supporter of his film. I believe in what he's doing. I read the book. All David does is gives facts. So he gets facts, and you scratch your head. How did that guy disappear? Like Pilates, I want facts. I want facts. I said, I'm telling the truth. I'm using my real legal name, Donald Coleman Jr. I'm on Facebook from Counts, Tennessee. You can send me a Facebook request, and I'll approve it. But you see pictures on there. It's Donald Deming Coleman Jr. is my real legal name. I'll use it. And I'm 60 years old. I'm medically disabled on Social Security. I got nothing to hide. I'm going to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. You swear into court, that's what they swear you in on.
Right.
So I want to make sure that you get the information from my area that you can take back and say, look, there's a pattern here. This guy's right on it. He's on the Tennessee River. These things are coming down the river. People don't see it. When they do, they're scared to death. They're terrified. They don't know what to do. You need to put programs where they can call and be on your show. And you can at least talk to them.
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to talk to them. And we'd even love to go down and visit. We've had a gentleman that called in. It's been about a month ago, and he said, hey, you get any time, I'll show you around our area, Kentucky. And we're having... I
could show you around here. I know the area where episode 85 went down. I know the area where 76 went down. That's down around Matheson, Mississippi on the Natchez Trace Parkway. That's way down there. I used to take the parkway from Tishomingo to Kosciuszko, get on 35, go to my park at Golden Memorial. And there's all kind of booger sightings over there now. From when I left the park system. So that's too far. That's a 5-hour drive from here. But I'm talking about locally right here where I can show you and you could walk in the woods. I said, I'll wait in the car, you walk in the woods, But
right.
I don't want these things on me. I'm trying to get away from them, but they're coming to me now.
Well, some people
look, this is getting serious. They're coming in my yard now. Yeah, well, I could just take you to Wind Springs Road. You can walk in from Wind Springs Road, and you can see what you need to do to get you some big binoculars. You can look up in the top of the treetops, because they know. I think it's on your show. They know when you get out of the car, and you can't see them, but they know when you're in their area.
Yeah, they do.
That's how smart. These things are super smart.
Yeah,
they're super soldiers.
Yeah, if they can't see you, they can smell you, and if they can't smell you...
I read that. I listened to some of your episodes, 11, 1 and 2.
Yes.
I listened to all your episodes. I went back and re-listened. I said, I hope this guy could talk to him. I really like your spirit. I said, I'd like to be able to talk to him, at least tell him what's going on over in Tennessee. I'm not trying to get on another episode like everybody else. I'm trying to get the truth out.
No, and that's why I want to call you back, Donald. What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and I'll look at my schedule for this week, and I'll give you a text this week, and we'll hook up.
Okay.
We'll hook up again, sir.
And I've seen missing pets and stuff, and I mean, just weird. I've walked out on my deck. My parents got a nice deck. I walked out there one day, and I know what a TNT explosion is. I know what a propane explosion is. Of course, like I said, I'm right off the lake. Wind Springs is a big cove. It's probably about 350 acres. It's a big cove. And I felt an explosion. I said, that's a propane explosion. I felt it. I looked on topics.com, Savannah, Tennessee forum. I looked to see if anybody had any scuttlebutt. I looked at one at IU, Mississippi, Carp, Mississippi. Nothing reported. But I felt the explosion. I don't know what a gas leak explosion is, too. So I know the different types and stuff. But I felt something like that. Nothing reported. No ambulance, no nothing.
Yeah, that is bizarre.
Weird stuff.
That is bizarre. Well, to close this segment out here, Donald, do you have any closing comments or final thoughts here?
Well, I like to tell people we need to educate ourselves. Listening to this show and this program that's put out in Oklahoma, this thing is across the nation. We need to learn from each other. Don't judge each other. Just learn from each other. One show is not over the other. It all blends together. And please be careful, be alert, be attentive, and go to these sites first to learn knowledge and learn what to do, what not to do, and stay safe.
Very good words. Donald couldn't have said it better. Thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate it. I'll get in contact with you this week. I'll friend you on Facebook, and I'll send you a text from my personal phone. Thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Good to talk to you. Good to meet you.
Yes, sir. Likewise. I'll contact you later this week.
Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye. We've had people call us